Hi everybody, this is Nikki and this is my channel. Welcome. If you're new here, which I'm guessing everybody would be because I just started posting, so welcome. I'm not sure exactly what I want this channel to be. I know that's probably not what you're supposed to say, but I just want to share my journey and like have it posted for my own, like so I can look back on it and see, kind of this middle point where I'm starting the GLP-1 journey. And as I get into my history, you'll see that I've actually been on a GLP-1 journey for over 10 years. I didn't know that, but I digress. We'll get into that. I am 43 years old. I have 2 adult children, and we live in Illinois, about an hour and a half outside of Chicago. It's a bigger city, but it has kind of a smaller town vibe. I grew up in Virginia Beach in the Hampton Roads area and of Virginia, and when I moved here, it was kind of like traveling back in time because there's stuff to do here, but it feels very much like being in the 90s or early 2000s. My children are adults. They're in their 20s. I have a 19-month-old grandbaby who I absolutely adore and who is one of the main reasons why I want to get healthy. I want my kids to see me healthy. I want my grandbaby to see me healthy. I don't want her to remember me fat. So, sorry if that term offends anybody. That's how I refer to myself. Basically, I want to take back that word and take out the negative connotation to it. And, I agree with Barb at the Metabolic Midwife that the word's only dirty if you give it that, I can't think of the word, but if you give it power, then it has power. It's just a word. So I apologize if that offends anybody, but that's just the word that I will use to describe me. I would never use that word to describe anybody else. I would use whatever words you're comfortable with. It's the same with using somebody's pronouns. I will use whatever you are comfortable with. But for me, I will call myself fat. So I don't want my grandbaby to remember me fat. Like I said, she's 19 months old, so it's going to take me a good chunk of time to lose the amount of weight that I need to lose. I think a lot of the channels that I see on YouTube and a lot of the influencers that I see on TikTok and Instagram that are on GLP-1s, most of them, and I'm not going to say only, because having 100 pounds to lose is an amazing feat, and losing that 100, 125, 150 pounds is amazing. I will never take anything away from that, but most of the channels that I see is where people started in the mid 250s. I started at 430. And again, it's not all channels, obviously. But I want to try and put my story out there to show, a longer journey, a longer amount of time to lose a more significant amount of weight, or more, I wouldn't say significant, you need to lose a higher number of pounds. We're all seeking to lose, a good percentage of our body weight. But me personally, I started at 430 pounds. I don't have a goal weight per se. I look at the health charts and, the healthy BMI, and I know that BMI was developed by a mathematician. I don't agree with it being, what we use to determine somebody's level of having obesity, or I don't agree with it being the jump off point, but it is a point. So while I don't agree with it, I do agree that it would feel really good to get into a normal range on that. So that would put me at about 150 pounds. Right now I am at 284 pounds. So I have a significant amount to go. That's 134 pounds left to go. Granted, I've lost 146 pounds, so I have less to go than when I started. And that's something that I use in my whole, like all my life. There's a fly in here. I'm so sorry. It's my pet fly. His name's Bob. Anyway, I use that in my regular life all the time. Like if I'm doing a workout and, you know, I check my watch and it's like, you've been working out for 10 minutes and my goal is to do 15. I'm like, well, you know, I'm 2/3 done. I only have 1/3 left to go. I have way less time left to go than I had when I started. So that's a philosophy that I use all the time. So, you know, that's just me. All right, so let's start from the beginning. Where my weight issues started as in my life, and this is just based on my memories and what have you. So I remember being 10 years old and taking a shower and finding a little purple mark on my stomach, a little purple line. And I didn't know what it was. It was very weird to me. So I ran into my mom's bedroom and I was like, Mom, you know, Mama, what is this? She was like, oh, you're never going to have a boyfriend. That's a stretch mark. I was 10. So she explained to me that you get stretch marks from being overweight. And that was my first time ever hearing anything about being overweight. I don't know how much I weighed as a child. I thought I was average when I was that young, but I guess the fact that I had stretch marks means it wasn't. I don't know. That's just how I remember it. Shortly after that, my mom took me to a psychologist, a psychologist, I believe, the ones who prescribe medicine, and told them all these symptoms that I didn't have that would make it sound like I had ADHD, which coincidentally, I do believe I have. But back then, I didn't have any of the real symptoms, the hyperactivity that would have required the medicine that she was trying to get me on. But she wanted me to get on Ritalin because she heard that it would help me lose weight. Again, I was 10. So I've heard a lot of stories about moms putting their kids in Weight Watchers. My mom didn't do that, but she did try to get me on pharmaceuticals at a very young age so that I could lose weight and I guess be the daughter she wanted. But she had my sister, so she got the daughter she wanted. And we're all very close together. We're all 1 year apart. My brother's 1 year older than me. My sister's 1 year younger than me. So 3 kids, bam, bam, bam. That's the household that I grew up in. I gotta check my notes. I started being bullied in school. I remember some situations, like one situation, I was walking back from the pool at our townhouse complex when I was in elementary school, and these kids started chasing me with sticks, like we called them switches in the South, and they were threatening to beat the fat off of me. They didn't hit me. They got me down on the ground and I was crawling backwards trying to get away from them. It was very scary. I went home and told my mom and she said, well, if you lost the weight, they wouldn't bother you. So I assumed that I was doing something wrong. This was my fault. I'm obviously making some sort of mistakes that are causing me to be bigger than these other kids. So they're supposed to bully me. That's just how it works. And I believed that for a very, very, very long time. I don't know when I stopped believing that, but I think part of me still does believe that, to be honest with you. So then I progressed up to middle school. I ended up moving in with my dad for a while. And that was different because my dad never judged me for my weight. He never mentioned it, bought me whatever food I asked for. It didn't bother him as far as I know. He would actually go when the Beanie Babies came out in the McDonald's Happy Meals. I'm aging myself now, but I am 43. But if you guys remember the Thai Beanie Babies that came out with the McDonald's Happy Meals, the ones that everybody thought was going to make them $1 million, my dad would go buy 2. I would get to eat both of the Happy Meals, but he would keep one of the toys. And he kept them. I don't know what he did with them, to be honest with you, because when he passed away, we didn't still have them. So I have no idea what happened to really anything that he collected. So but I was still bullied in school. I had a close-knit group of friends. I went through middle school. Middle school was okay. My first year of middle school, when I still lived with my mom, I was actually pretty popular. I was kind of like the class clown. And I tried to dress like all of the really popular kids in school, which all happened to be really great Filipino kids, and I loved them all to death. So I would try to dress like them. So I remember wearing men's collared shirts and khakis because that was the thing. But I felt like they didn't judge me. That community was excellent, and they really treated me really well. But then I moved in with my dad, and the bullying started at my new school. I was heavier than the other kids. Then I went to high school. There were times where people, I put signs on my back that said "kick me," like that really happened. Anytime there was something where we were supposed to stand up in front of the class, and when I would get up from my desk that I barely fit in to walk to the front of the class, kids would act like there was an earthquake. Like, kids are just cruel, and adults are cruel too. People are just buttholes. But I was bullied pretty relentlessly. Got to my first year of high school, I was still living with my dad. I really didn't go to school very much. I missed a lot of school. I had a .17 grade point average, so it was pretty bad. I didn't study. I didn't pass any of my classes. I didn't want to be there. There was so much bullying going on that I just did not want to be in school. And you know, my dad never really forced me to go to school. It wasn't like I had the responsibility of getting up and getting myself on the bus, and if I didn't, he didn't care. So I didn't go to school. My next year of high school, I moved back in with my mom because my mom and my stepdad bought a house, and it was a big house, so they allowed me to come back home. And I had the same problems at the new high school. At first, we were living in a small apartment while we were waiting for the house to sell, so we went to one high school for 8 weeks. And there were fights every day in that school, like fist to like that. And I was always really scared that I was going to get beat up. So I did go to school every day because my mom made sure that I went to school every day, but every day I would come home like just defeated and just, I mean, I would be relieved that I didn't get beat up, but I would be so scared because all these fights kept happening. I was made fun of terribly bad again. There was a large group of kids that rode the bus. We actually rode the city bus, which was interesting. There was a large group of kids that bullied me. They wouldn't let me sit in the back of the bus. It was rough. So I didn't finish school. I dropped out. My third year of 10th grade, I tried another school, and it was a school for bad kids or troubled kids. And it was just like this hallway that had like 6 classrooms, and everybody was in the same classrooms, even though we were all different ages and things like that. So it was very small groups, but I still didn't want to go. I don't recall being bullied heavily in that school, but at that point, I hated school. I still feel like organized school was not for me. So dropped out, went to work. Started working at Arby's. I was still putting on weight. I'd never weighed myself. We didn't have a scale at home, so I have no idea what I weighed in high school, middle school, elementary school, none of that. I don't remember. The first time that I remember being weighed was when I was pregnant with my son. And I don't remember my weight from my pregnancy. I know that I lost over 100 pounds when I was pregnant with my son. I got pregnant when I was 20. And anybody who's been a heavier person and has dated knows that there are people out there that will prey on the low self-esteem of people that are living in a bigger body. So I didn't have very good self-esteem, and I started dating somebody that was not a good person in any way, shape, or form. He ended up, I found out that he was cheating on me. He ended up coming, or he asked me to come meet him on Valentine's Day because he just wanted to apologize. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And again, because I had such low self-esteem. So the idea that any man would be giving me the time of day was, I had to jump at that. Because again, remember, my mom told me I would never have a boyfriend. So I wanted to prove her wrong. So I went to meet with him, and he actually attacked me. And that's how I got pregnant. So immediately after that happened, I signed up to go away to Job Corps. He got arrested, not for what he did to me, because I never reported it. He went to jail though, and the crazy part about it is I was still talking to him. Even though he had done that to me, I was still conversing with him. Self-esteem is a bear, I'm telling you. So I decided to go away to Job Corps. That was on the other side of Virginia. I lived on the east coast of Virginia, and Job Corps was on the west coast of Virginia in the Blue Ridge Mountains. So I traveled there like about a week or two after it happened. I've been at Job Corps for about a week, and one of the things that they do for women when you get there is you have to have a full gynecological exam, which I had never had before. So I get there, and they also pregnancy test you, and my initial pregnancy test came out negative. So it took a couple weeks for me to get into the gynecologist and have the full physical and the full gynecological exam and everything. And when they did it, they were like, I think you might want to run another pregnancy test on her. And I was like, oh, crap. So I went to Walmart, because they would take us to Walmart once every 2 weeks. We could go to Walmart. We got paid. It was like $25 every 2 weeks. And so everybody would go to Walmart on the little buses and buy whatever. So I went to Walmart and I bought a $1 pregnancy test. And I came back, and the lines were super duper faint, but they were there. So yeah, I was pregnant. Turns out at Job Corps, and I believe that Job Corps has been shut down now, but back then, if you found out, or if you got pregnant while you were at Job Corps, like if I had tested positive for pregnancy when I first got there, they would have sent me home. But because I tested negative initially, they let me stay. But several weeks later, I tested positive. They didn't send me home, but they did inform me that I could no longer do the nursing program, that I had to do a shorter program because I could only stay until my 7th month of pregnancy. So the nursing program would take 2 years to get your LPN. And that's what I had wanted to do, is my grandma told me she wanted me to be a nurse. I told her I wanted to be a professional wrestler. She didn't see any value in that. I'm a huge wrestling fan, by the way. If anybody can name this wrestler, put it in the comments. It'll tickle me if anybody gets it. But I wanted to be a nurse. Turns out I couldn't do that. So what does the big girl do? She goes into culinary arts. So I went into culinary arts. I finished the culinary arts program in about 3 months, which was faster than anybody else had ever finished it. It's a self-paced program, so you just go through the things. They give you papers of recipes. You have to progress to making the different things, and you would make them. You'd bring them to the teacher to try. She would rate you, grade you, whatever. But I finished the program in 3 months, and they still hadn't put me in the GED program, which is the other reason that I went, because I dropped out of school. I needed a GED. And I was like, look, I'm gonna leave if y'all take me to the GED class. And so they finally took me. They gave me a practice test, and I aced it. So they immediately took me the next day to the University of Tennessee to take the GED test, and I passed. So I had completed Job Corps in 3 months and got to go back home. Well, when my mom found out I was pregnant, she told me that I should get rid of it. That was pretty rough, because when my sister found out she was pregnant at 17, she was told, whatever you need, I'll support you, whatever you decide. I didn't get that same treatment. So I come home, I'm pregnant. My mom is not happy at all. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I end up moving in with my baby daddy's family. He wasn't living there again. He was still in jail, but I moved in with his aunt and who's my son's aunt and uncle. So his brother and sister-in-law, and their 3 kids. Well, 2 kids at the time. It was very cramped. It was a small apartment. I had no business being there. They were great. They took care of me as best that they could. I tried to do everything that I could. You know, it wasn't a great situation, but we made it work for the time that we did. After he got out of jail, he came to live with them, so I went back home. And then there was a huge hurricane. I was just a couple months away from having my son, and there was Hurricane Isabel hit, and we were out of power for like a week, and I thought I was going to go into labor taking those cold showers. I was working at a gas station at the time, and so I got laid off because the gas station was ruined by the hurricane, so that kind of sucks. So then I wasn't working, I was pregnant. I was very, very sick when I was pregnant. I ended up losing over 100 pounds. I don't know the exact amount of weight. I don't know how much I weighed when I started. I know that after I gave birth to my son at my first postnatal check-in, I weighed 199 pounds. That is the lowest weight that I remember being. I was in Wonderland and I was 21. So that is the lowest weight that obviously I had smaller weights because I wasn't born at 150 pounds or 199 pounds, but I don't remember them. So when I talk about my lowest weight, that's what I reference. So have my son. I meet my next boyfriend online when my son is about 6 months old. I went over to his apartment the night that we met and never left. It was not a good situation. He was not a good person either. He was a drug addict, but he liked me. Again, self-esteem. It's a horrible thing when you don't have it. So moved in with him. A few weeks after I moved in with him, I did start putting on weight, but then I noticed I was getting some really bad pains in my stomach, and I had the pains before, and I knew that my gallbladder had stones, but I didn't have any health insurance, so they refused to remove it unless it became emergent. And I went to the emergency room with a gallbladder attack, is what I called them, and they still said it wasn't emergent, so they didn't take it out. So I move in with him. I have another gallbladder attack. He comes home from work, finds me on the floor in front of the TV with my son cradled in my arms, pale and ice cold. He called the emergency people. They had to come carry me down the stairs. Oh, I was so embarrassed. But I had to get out of there. The attack would not end. Usually they would go away after an hour or so, but this one would not end. Get to the hospital. Turns out my gallbladder exploded. I was septic, almost died, spent a lot of time in the hospital. It was really bad. We have a family history of gallbladder issues in our family, but also the rapid weight loss from when I was pregnant probably didn't help that. So lost my gallbladder, major emergency surgery. I felt like this man was my hero because he saved my life. And so I made the mistake of getting pregnant. So I got pregnant with my second child. That's my daughter. She is not a mistake. My son is not a mistake. I would not trade them for anything in the world. I wish I had had them under better circumstances with better people, but I would not change anything that happened for anything. I love them more than anything. And I mean, we all still even live together. We all split bills. We share a large apartment. You can see my grandbaby's crib is in my room. She sleeps in here with me. So, you know, we're a pretty tight-knit family. I wanted to break that family trauma that I suffered and not give that to my kids. So, needless to say, I was a single mom. Never had help from the fathers in any way, shape, or form. I moved in with my dad. He bought a big house and said, "Hey, I bought this big house for you and your kids." There was like a separate bedroom apartment type thing. It just didn't have a kitchen, but it was off the main kitchen of the house. So it was like a separate apartment. So he stayed in there and we had the rest of the house. And everything was great. My dad was super helpful. I was really sick when I was pregnant with my daughter, but I gained back all the weight that I lost. And I got back up to 300 pounds. So when I had my daughter, I was at 300 pounds. I had to have an emergency C-section because she was backwards. I like to tell people she came into the world telling it to kiss her butt because she was butt first. That was a pretty traumatic healing. I was immobile for a really long time because I kept getting infections in where the scar is, because I have an apron belly. I have this fat roll down here, and they cut me right in the crease of that fat roll. So my stomach is lumped over this scar, which means I kept getting infections, bad infections. It was disgusting. It stunk. It turned green. It was absolutely disgusting. And I begged them. I was like, even if you got to cut me up and down, don't cut me there. And they cut me there anyway. So, you know, unfortunately, healthcare for women is not great. So I had this baby. My brother got into some big trouble. It all happened the same day that I had my baby, my daughter. I couldn't get anybody to come to the hospital to be with me during the C-section. My mom barely made it. I was already cut open by the time she got in the room, because even though she had never treated me great, you know, you want your mommy when you're going through something. You want your mom. And that's hard because I still want her, but I digress. So my brother gets in big trouble. It brings my parents back together. My mom and my dad had separated when I was 3. They got divorced when I was a teenager, and my mom got remarried to my stepdad. So she was married to my stepdad at the time, and she still owned her big house on the other side of the water, as we called it. And my dad had his house. So my mom moved in with my dad. And remember, my mom was the one that was always really critical of me and my first bully. So she ended up kind of turning my dad against me. Every little thing that I did was wrong. Nothing that I did was right. We stayed living together for about 1.5 years, and then it got too much, so I moved out. Took my kids, went, and I ended up living in a trailer in Virginia Beach with the 2 kids. I got a job working at McDonald's as a manager, and so I was on my feet all day, but I was also eating crap every day. I was eating McDonald's every day because we got a free meal. So the pounds just kept a coming. Then there was a fire. I was trying to make my kids tater tots, and to this day, I will not cook tater tots in oil. The oil caught fire. I panicked and tried to smother the fire. Well, first I tried to use a fire extinguisher. I had a grease fire extinguisher. Tried to use it. It exploded. It went up in it turns out that extinguisher had been recalled and I didn't know it. So fire spreads. Again, I'm living in a trailer. So I take a blanket and I try to throw it on the pot to smother it. Putting the lid on the pot didn't occur to me. So if anybody went through fire safeties class and they told you, you smother it, you put the lid on it, you cover it in baking soda, you cover it in salt. None of those things occurred to me. Blanket though, solid. What I did was I pulled the pot down my legs and feet. So the burning oil that was on fire went down my legs and my feet and spread across the kitchen floor. So now there's a line of fire on the kitchen floor. My kids were on the other side of the fire. I had to get them out. I kept yelling at them to run outside. I was on the phone with 911. They wouldn't go outside because it was raining. In their defense, they were 4 and 5. I think they were 5 and 6 because I believe they were both in they were both in elementary school. So my daughter was in half-day kindergarten and my son was in 1st grade. So they wouldn't go outside. So I had to crawl across that fire to get to them. And so I suffered some pretty serious burns, especially on my legs and feet. I had 2nd-degree burns down my legs and on most of my feet. And then there was one patch that was a 3rd-degree partial thickness burn that almost needed skin grafting, but they ended up using this faux skin felt. It was gray, so now my skin is gray there. I wish they had the tilapia skin to treat burns back then, because it would have been really cool to have fish skin. But anyway, because of that fire, I became seriously immobile. I could not walk because my feet were burned. It was so painful. I walked the bare minimum that I had to get my kids on and off the bus, to get to the bathroom. That was it. That was the only time that I got up. I wasn't working at the time. I had gotten fired from the McDonald's for making a religious choice. It was very strange. And so I was in between jobs. I was looking for something. My dad came and moved in with me because he lost his house. He was an alcoholic, and he got caught drunk at work. So he lost his job and he lost his house. And so he had to come live with me. It was a 4-bedroom trailer, so there was plenty of room. And he went to work, so he started taking care of the bills, and my church at the time was helping me with bills as well, and with food and things like that. So I had a lot of support in that time, but I was constantly sitting, and I ended up developing arthritis because of how heavy I was and how little I was moving around. My muscles were, I was losing muscles. I was not building anything. I wasn't working out in any way, shape, or form. So it was a bad time. Put on a lot more weight. My dad passed away. I ended up letting my uncle move in after he passed away because he was homeless, and I felt bad, and I missed having some sort of support. And then my uncle started abusing my kids, so we took off. We left. Fast forward a few years, and I'm 430 pounds. I couldn't wipe myself. I had to have my kids wipe me, and they're teenagers. Do you know how disgusting that is? It was so embarrassing. I tried to get one of those wiper things like Barb showed on her live recently, and Julio on Riding the Tide had one too. I couldn't figure out how to use it. Because I couldn't reach around, because my arms are short and my body is so big, and I still can't reach around to wipe myself. That is a non-scale goal that I have, is to be able to reach around to clean myself. But I can clean myself now, just not in the traditional way. And I have to take extra care to use, extra methods of cleaning, because when you're cleaning this way, it's not as sanitary. And that, I don't think people talk enough about the gross stuff. So I am an open book, and I will talk about the gross stuff. And if that grosses you out, please fast forward. But I'm 430 pounds. I go to the doctor. Doctor says, you're diabetic. I had never even been pre-diabetic. I went to the doctor because I was depressed. And I was working at Sprint at the time, so I had really good insurance. And the doctor put me on Victoza. He also put me on metformin. And Victoza was one of the original GLP-1s, liraglutide. I had no idea it was a GLP-1. I didn't know what a GLP-1 was. I didn't know that was a GLP-1 until about 2 months ago when I read the book Weightless. And when I say read, I mean on Audible, because my eyes are really bad. I can't really read a book. So Audible, I do Audible. So that's when I realized Victoza was a GLP-1, and I was like, that was 10 years ago. So I was 33, and I was 430 pounds, and I started on Victoza. I started on the metformin. I was also on a long-lasting insulin. Sorry, perimenopause brain fog, couldn't think of the word. And I started losing weight. My blood sugars got under control, and I started losing weight, and I lost 100 pounds on Victoza. Fast forward again, I'm walking all the time because I was one of those extreme couponers with the big binder and like going to get the super doubles and the, getting free items and the stockpile and all that. You remember that show, Extreme Couponing? That was me. I was doing it. It was so much fun. I would go to 6 or 7 stores a day when they were having the super doubles, and I would get all this free stuff. I would bring people with me and give them lists of things to get, and I would break it down to the penny, before taxes, how much everything was going to cost, and I would give them the exact amount of money that they needed to pay for it. And we just built a stockpile. It was so much fun. So I was moving around a lot, even though I was still in pain from the arthritis. At that point, the arthritis in my knees and hips wasn't ridiculously bad because I could still move around. So that was super fun. I was feeling great. I was looking better. I was confident. I bought some pretty dresses to wear to work. And then they tell us our job is closing down. They're sending all of the customer service jobs for Sprint overseas. Capitalism. It was heartbreaking. I had had that job for 5 years. It was the longest job that I'd ever held. I really liked working there. I liked having the good insurance. I liked being able to take the medicines. And, I thought for sure, when I get, because I had to get on Medicaid, I was like, for sure Medicaid's going to cover this. It's a diabetic treatment. Medicaid would not cover the Victoza. It was still new back then, I guess. I don't know how new it was. I could do research and find out, but I don't know. I guess it was still pretty expensive. So they refused to pay for it. So I managed to keep the weight off. And because I lost my job and I couldn't afford my apartment anymore, me and the kids packed up and we moved in with my son's aunt and uncle again, and they live in Illinois. And that's how we ended up in Illinois. They were absolutely great. My son's aunt, one of my best friends, she is absolutely my bestie now. We talk every day and we support each other, and we're both on health journeys, and she's absolutely fabulous. So Nicole, if you're watching this, mwah, love you. And they were great. They let us stay there until I got back on my feet. I got a large child support check, which was crazy. My ex apparently started working and I didn't get any payments, but then he filed taxes and I got this big chunk of money. So use that to buy a van, pack everything in the van, drive to Illinois, 16 hours in a van that I just bought. That was really stupid. Don't do that. And we get to Illinois. We're living in the basement. It's a huge basement. It's as big as an apartment. It just didn't have a bathroom. That was the only problem. So I'd have to go up the stairs to go to the bathroom. That was pretty rough. But I was down at 330 pounds. I maintained 330 pounds for years, for like 8 years. I maintained 330 pounds. I was moving around pretty okay. I wasn't eating great, but I was maintaining that weight. So I was back on the metformin and those kind of things. And then I tried Mounjaro after several years. So this was about 2 years ago. When I was living still in her basement, I tried the Mounjaro, and they put me on an extended release metformin with the Mounjaro. I had been on regular metformin and it tore my stomach up. So they changed the metformin. My body got used to the extended release metformin, but then when I started the Mounjaro, I started having severe gastrointestinal issues, like having to run to the bathroom 7 or 8 times a day, and it was up 2 flights of stairs, remember? So it was miserable. I actually had to buy a portable toilet because sometimes I couldn't make it. And that was embarrassing. My kids had to clean it for me, had to clean the toilet. So I'm back to making my kids do disgusting things. The stuff that I put those kids through, they deserve better. They deserve better. Okay, so I end up moving out. We get an apartment. My daughter actually was away at Job Corps. She went to Job Corps too. She went to one in Alabama. I went to the one in Virginia, but she took culinary arts too, and she actually got her diploma. So proud of her. And my son got a job working at Little Caesars. So some things happened. We got a house. There were problems with the house. The landlord was a slumlord. He wouldn't fix anything. I took in 17 cats. It was disgusting. I became like a hoarder. The house was absolutely gross because I couldn't clean, because I ended up getting my job transferred us to work from home during COVID. And so my landlord tried to evict me during COVID, but they were like, you can't do that. He said that I was making it an unsafe area because I wouldn't cut the grass. My son cut the grass. It wasn't that serious. And they were like, no, you can't do that. So then he stopped accepting rent from me, and then when they pulled the policy that said you couldn't evict people, he evicted me. So we ended up moving back in with my son's aunt, and that was when I tried the Mounjaro and the 2 flights of stairs and the problems. So fast forward, we get a new apartment. My son's still working at Little Caesars. He's actually still there now. He's a general manager. He's worked his way up since he was 17 years old. He's 22 now, and he's been at the same job the whole time. I'm super proud of him. My kids have made amazing changes and done great things in their life in spite of me. Okay, I did the best I could most of the time. There were times where I did not give them my all, and I don't want to start crying again. So we get an apartment. I start dating somebody. I started dating somebody that I had known since I lived in Virginia Beach. He had been married at the time when I knew him. Nothing happened back then. There was flirtation. He flirted with me, but I didn't know it was flirting because I didn't know what flirting looked like. And then he got separated, and we linked back up, and we dated for about 2.5, 3 years. He was a cheater. And once a cheater, always a cheater. He cheated on his wife, and I justified it because self-esteem, man. It's miserable. And he's a narcissist, and I let him play me. And after 3 years and talking about getting married and taking me to meet his parents and all this stuff, one day he just stopped talking to me. We were talking every day, all day. He wanted to know everything I was doing, everybody I was seeing, texted nonstop, FaceTime calls nonstop, just out of the blue, nothing. And it broke me. I ended up in the mental hospital. I tried to take my life. And when you're an insulin-dependent diabetic, you know, so I tried to use the insulin to take my life. All right, sorry about that. Groceries got delivered. And is anybody else I ordered cilantro, and I said, do not replace this, and they replaced it with parsley anyway. I don't like parsley. I like cilantro. And I feel sorry for anybody who has that gene that makes it taste like soap. My son's girlfriend is like that. She lives with us too. And it just breaks my heart because cilantro is like the greatest herb ever. But anyway, back to the story. So after he ghosted me, and I attempted to take my life, and I had struggled with my mental health many times. I had been institutionalized a couple times in Virginia. I had a steroid-induced psychosis one time, and then another attempt to take my life. So 2 times I was admitted into the mental hospital, and I had gotten treatment. And then when I lost my insurance, I stopped treatment. I never tried to find a psychiatrist or a psychologist in Illinois. It just didn't seem worth it to me. So go to the mental hospital. And I had been misdiagnosed as schizophrenic back then, by the way. With the steroid-induced psychosis, it took a while for them to figure out that that's what it was. So I was being treated for schizophrenia even though I didn't have schizophrenia. Second mental breakdown, I find out I have borderline personality disorder from all the trauma that I suffered as a child. And there was a lot of trauma. I don't want to get into all of that. Maybe I will eventually. But there was some trauma in my childhood not associated with my weight. I started taking medication for the borderline personality disorder, major depressive disorder, and severe social anxiety disorder. I'm still being treated for those to this day. And I'll go through a list of my medications later. So I start getting treatment, go on medicine, I start gaining weight. I got up to 380. Now remember, I had maintained 330-ish for 10 years. Give or take 10 pounds. Well, it was never give 10 pounds. I never got down to 320. It was always 330 to 340. So let's be honest. So get up to 380. At that point, I started a new job, and I'm working for a health insurance company, and we have great insurance, and it covers gastric sleeve surgery. my previous employer wouldn't cover gastric bypass or gastric sleeve surgery, no type of obesity treatment whatsoever. They did cover the Mounjaro because it was a diabetic medicine. So, but they wouldn't cover any type of weight loss surgery. And when I got really sick on the Mounjaro, I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. I had to stop taking it because of the gastrointestinal issues. In hindsight, I should have just stopped taking the metformin because that's what was causing the gastrointestinal issues. Because now I'm on Mounjaro and I don't have that problem. And I'm not on metformin anymore. I did eventually stop taking metformin because it just made me miserable. So 380 pounds, gastric sleeve surgery is an option. I find a surgeon, Dr. Shayani in Illinois. He was fantastic. He did everything he was supposed to do. They gave me all the education they were supposed to give me. It just didn't take. So I get the surgery. I did the pre-surgery diet, and I got down to like 372 before the surgery. And then after the surgery, I was not eating like I was supposed to. I met with a dietitian once. So this is something that I feel like they could have done better. I met with a dietitian once on the phone before the surgery in preparation, where she sent me the diet and told me everything that I was going to have to eat, and high protein, low carb, high fiber, drink the water, the same diet that they tell us all now on the GLP-1s. Like, I'm working with a dietitian now, and this is the exact diet that they wanted me to do. So I just didn't do it. I was just eating the same things I always ate, just less, which was a lot of fast food. When I tell you that DoorDash probably thinks we died because we used to order DoorDash 2 or 3 times a day. I would rarely cook at home because once I started working from home, I was really immobile. I wasn't going out walking anywhere. I never left the house because, again, I was really depressed. So when I was dating my ex, I would travel back and forth to Florida every month or two. We would go to places like Disney World, which I absolutely love. Disney. It's my favorite place. It truly is the most magical place on earth. Disney World is. And you know, we were doing a lot of activities, so that was helping me maintain my weight. Even though I wasn't eating the healthiest because we were going out to eat a lot when I was with him, you know, I was always eat a little bit less than I really wanted because I didn't want him to judge me. But he liked the bigger, like, he loves big women. That's his thing. You know, his parents hate big women. So anyway, and I still have never heard from him, by the way. It's crazy. It's been years now. But anyway, so I get the surgery. I lose. So I go from 380 to 316. I don't want to do the math right now. And then I plateau at 316. So after the surgery, I get down to 316. I don't make me math. I don't know the math of that. I could do it, but I don't want to. So get down to 316 pounds and I plateau. So I start thinking, maybe I should try Mounjaro again. I'm in my own apartment. I have my own bathroom. If it gives me the same gastrointestinal issues, so be it. I can just run to the bathroom. My body will get used to it. That's what I thought. So I was like, I'm going to give it a shot again. So I went to my doctor and I was like, what can we do? You know, should I do Mounjaro? Should I do Ozempic? What are we doing? My A1C before I had the surgery was 11.4. The highest it was 12.1, but it was 11.4 right before I had the surgery. When I got my blood work tested before I started the Mounjaro again, it was a 9. So it's come down significantly. I'm going to have blood work done in a couple weeks, and I'll share that here and see where it's at now. My blood sugars have been very much well controlled on the new dose of Mounjaro, so we'll see. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me check my notes again. So April 30th, I start on 2.5 milligrams of Mounjaro. I don't have any of the gastrointestinal issues anymore, which is what leads me to believe it was the metformin before, or the combination of the two, I don't know. So I'm excited. The food noise, it took about 3 weeks for me. I know there are some people that it was overnight. Like, I love Megan on Small Things Daily, and I know hers went away overnight, and that is amazing. Mine took about 3 weeks. I was still eating, whatever I wanted to eat, but I was losing weight. I lost 20 pounds the first month, 19 pounds the first month of the Mounjaro 2.5. My blood sugars were still a little high, so my doctor wanted me to go ahead and bump up to 5. So on week 4, I went up to 5 milligrams, and I did that for 7 weeks. And over the course of those, the 7 weeks that I did the 5 milligrams, I lost 12 pounds. So that's about 1.5 pounds per week. For my week 11, I just started on 7.5 because, again, my blood sugars were still not very well controlled, and the food noise was coming back. So it was more than just the normal food noise coming back during days like 6 and 7, like 5 days after your shot. It starts to wear off, so the food noise starts coming back, the hunger starts coming back. Me personally, and I found out recently that this isn't normal, and I didn't know that. I thought it was normal after gastric sleeve surgery to not feel physical hunger. I did not know that wasn't normal. So to anyone that heard me say that and was offended, I am so sorry. I did not mean anything by it. I don't have any physical hunger. I never get a pit in my stomach. I never get, a growling stomach, and I know it's not all about that. I have to set alarms to remind myself to eat because I'll wake up. I don't have very good habits for waking up, and I'm working on that too because on Small Things Daily, she recommended the book Atomic Habits, and I just finished it today, and I'm going to be making some changes. So follow along and subscribe if you want to see how I implement those changes and see, you guys can hold me accountable. Like, that's what I need. I need accountability partners because nobody holds me accountable for anything. My therapist does somewhat, and my dietitian does somewhat, but I did finally find a great therapist, and I love her to death. She's amazing. She lets me talk about whatever I want to talk about. She gives me encouragement. She's seen me make a lot of positive changes since I started seeing her, so things are great. My mental health is very well controlled right now. I still have some anxiety, and I still have some insomnia, but I don't know if that's more from perimenopause or, the weight loss or the gastric sleeve surgery. It could be from any of those things. So, that's where we're at. So week 11, I'm on 7.5. My average blood sugar since I got a Dexcom continuous blood glucose monitor, my blood sugars have averaged 138, which should put me in the pre-diabetic range when I get my A1C retested. Now, I have to wear the Dexcom on my stomach because I have a lot of fat on my arms, but I have frozen shoulders. So I can't get it. I don't have the ability to get it on my arm. And because I have frozen shoulders, I have to sleep on my back. I can't sleep on my sides. So if I slept on my back and I had it on the back of my arm, it would be covered and that would cause problems. The thing would beep all night. So, and I apologize for adjusting my glasses, but the ring light, but I want to have good light, but I wear glasses. I'm sorry. And I can't afford the protective coating that doesn't show the glare. So don't judge me, please. Anyway, so the Mounjaro is going great. My blood sugars are well under control. I'm steadily losing weight. I'm down to 284. I got a smart scale, and that's when I realized I lost a lot of skeletal muscle. I don't know what my skeletal muscle was before, but when I first got the smart scale, it said I was at 20.5% skeletal muscle, which is very low. I have adequate muscle mass, but very little skeletal muscle. So I'm working on trying to rebuild that because I didn't do the diet like I was supposed to, and I lost all that weight. The 60-ish pounds or whatever that I lost. I lost a lot of muscle. I lost a lot of skeletal muscle. So now I'm doing things right. I'm working with the dietitian. I'm eating 30 grams of fiber per meal. Sometimes it goes a little over that, but my goal is for 30 grams because your body can only use 30 grams of fiber. Your body can only use 30 grams of protein in any given moment. So that's why she says to you to 30 grams per meal as opposed to shooting for a goal per day. If I do snack, it's on meat sticks or almonds or cheese sticks, something with protein. I'll do fiber brownies because she wants me to do 25 grams of fiber per week or per day, and 64 ounces of water per day, which is, I'm working on it. Like, I got one of these things with the little numbers on it, and you fill it up all the way. It's 64 ounces, half gallon. Drink one of these a day. You can see I haven't done very good today so far. I'm not going to tell you what time it is because then you'll judge me. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I am, like I said, 43, so I am perimenopausal, so I'm starting on estrogen therapy and progesterone therapy. I'm going to do a patch and a cream of estrogen and a progesterone pill. My testosterone levels were high in the normal range, but they were high normal, so she doesn't want to put me on any of that right now. I take medications for my mental health disorders. I take as needed anxiety medication. I'm no longer on insulin. I've gotten to lower my blood pressure medicines 3 times and had to come off of one of my PTSD medicines because it was lowering my blood pressure too much. So now I'm on a very low dose high blood pressure pill. I'm on a cholesterol pill. My cholesterol has always been fine, but they have me on this medicine. They put me on the medicine just because I was overweight. I've never had problems with my cholesterol, but you know, as far as I know, the medicine is what's keeping that at bay. So I'm going to take it. So I take atorvastatin for that. I take lisinopril hydrochlorothiazide for my blood pressure. I take lorazepam, vilazodone, hydroxyzine, trazodone for sleep. Hydroxyzine is as needed for severe anxiety. So I take Januvia for diabetes. I take the Mounjaro, obviously, for the diabetes and the obesity. I take omeprazole for heartburn, acid reflux. I take that every day. I also take a Zyrtec every day because there was a point in time where I started breaking out in hives and we can't figure out why. So I take that and I don't break out in hives. That's whatever. So I also take magnesium citrate gummies to try and keep me regular. I have had problems with constipation, had a bowel impaction last week. That's why this video was delayed. And my MacBook died, so I couldn't edit. I made a video and I was in the middle of editing it and I lost everything, so I'm redoing it. I know I run off at the mouth, and you know, I told y'all I have ADHD now. I know that I do. I am working on cutting down as many medications as I can. I take magnesium citrate gummies, like I said, to try and keep me regular. I take magnesium glycinate to help with sleep. I take magnesium L-theanate for mental clarity because I do have so much brain fog with the perimenopause, and brain fog can be a symptom on the GLP-1. Fatigue can also be a symptom on the GLP-1. But I have a lot of perimenopausal symptoms too. I get hot flashes, I get night sweats, I get the brain fog is fogging. It's bad. I forget things all the time. My mom was just diagnosed with some form of dementia. It hasn't been formally diagnosed, but they've said that she has some kind of dementia or Alzheimer's. So I really thought that I had early onset Alzheimer's, but turns out perimenopause. I read the book called The New Perimenopause. If you're in a perimenopause or menopause journey, The New Perimenopause or The New Menopause, great books. Pick them up. So I did decide to do hormone replacement therapy for that. I know some people are worried that hormone replacement therapy will make you gain weight. My doctor said that is not generally the case, especially for people on GLP-1s, because GLP-1s help with perimenopause too, because they help with hormones, because GLP-1, I guess, is a hormone. So It's a hormone that your body naturally produces, but in very, I guess, low amounts. But there are GLP-1 receptors all over your brain and body. So it helps with so many things. It is completely taken away most of the time, the food noise. Occasionally, I will get the food noise back where, like, after I eat something, I'm all of a sudden like, what am I going to eat next? Where am I going to go next? Or if I'm out driving around and I see a restaurant, I'm like, ooh, I really want to go there. And I don't know what of that is the food noise coming back and what of that is just how normal people think. I have never thought normally about food. So I am learning, and I'm in the middle of learning. So anything that I say is subject to change. And I am not a medical doctor. I will never give medical advice. I'm just talking about me. This is me. This is what I've chosen to do. I will share how it's working for me or how it doesn't work for me. I will share the steps in my journey, the habits that I'm trying to build. You know, I've gone through such serious depression to where it got to the point where I wouldn't shower. I didn't take care of my teeth. My teeth are falling out. I have hardly any teeth in the back of my mouth, and none of my teeth are salvageable. I need implants, but dental insurance only covers up to $2,000, so I cannot afford dental implants. But all of my teeth need to come out. They're all very bad, and I hate them. I'm very self-conscious about my teeth. But that depression that you get where it's just all consuming and you don't want to shower, you don't want to brush your teeth, you don't want to take care of yourself, you don't want to take care of your kids. You know, I've been there, and I'm on these medications now and it helps, but I still have, like, every night when I get in bed, I still have racing thoughts. I'm working on that. You know, there's a lot of things that I'm working on, and I just wanted to share all this. You know, I do have severe arthritis in my knees, hips, and spine. I'm to the point where I can barely walk 2,000 steps a day. It was under 1,000 before I started on the Mounjaro and started going exercising and things. So what I do for exercise right now is I go to the gym and I get in the indoor pool, and they have weights. So I do weight exercises, strength training with my arms. I do lateral or whatever this is, and I do hammer curls back behind my back. And then I do some other strength training exercises like squats in the pool. I will do water walking. If you saw my recent video about my exercise, that's pretty much what I do every day. Sometimes there's too many people in the pool and I can't do the walking, so I'll just tread water for 30 minutes, or I'll do the high knees where I'm running like I did in the video in the pool, and I'm constantly keeping my arms moving. I'm mimicking swimming because of the frozen shoulders. I can't swim. I could do this. I can do the breaststroke. That's about it. But when I'm in the pool, I like to have my AirPod in because it's connected to my glucose monitor. So if I do get an alert that my glucose is low, but now I got an Apple Watch, so it kind of tracks it too. But I like to be listening to something. You guys know, if any of you follow Riding the Tide and you were in the live, you know that I was in the live while I was swimming. And I use that as motivation to keep going. I call it swimming. Obviously it's not swimming, but you know what I mean. I do have a walking pad. When I started on the walking pad, I could only do about 5 minutes at a time. The last time I got on it, I was able to go for 10 minutes. Because I'm going to try and build the habit of getting on the walking pad every day, I'm going to start by doing 2 minutes. So my goal is to set up a morning routine for myself. That's the habits that I want to create. I want to set up a morning routine where I'm getting up at an earlier time, because right now I get up at about 10:30 because I don't have to work until 11. And that means I'm not eating breakfast. I'm just, I don't know what I think sleeping until 10:30 is about, but I don't want to, I feel like it's not right. So I want to get up, make my bed. I don't do that now. I did this. I have trouble making my bed because of the frozen shoulder. I can't get into the corner. So I sleep with this really soft blanket that my kids got me for Mother's Day. I love it. It's so soft. So I just sleep on top of my blanket, my comforter, and my comforter doesn't match my pillows, as you can see. So I'm a work in progress, but I want to get up, make my bed, go to the bathroom, weigh myself, brush my teeth, get on the walking pad, walk for a few minutes, get in the shower, eat breakfast, get ready for work. I'm going to limit myself to social media time in the mornings, so that I can try to help with the insomnia that I have at night, the racing thoughts. I'm going to try to do my social media in the morning so that I'm not, on the social media before I go to bed. I already don't use my phone in bed, so that's good. And yeah, I think that's it. So I'm working on trying to build good habits. I've started tracking my food with the Nourish app. That's where my dietitian is from, because my insurance covers that. You should check and see if your insurance covers Nourish, because you can track your food in that app. It also synchronizes with the iPhone. I think it synchronizes with Android phones too. So like your steps and your workouts and things, like anything I log with my Apple Watch gets automatically logged into the Nourish app. So my dietitian follows my movement and she follows my diet. So I log my water, I log everything. It doesn't have a place to log your shots. I looked at the Shotzi app, but $14.99 a month just for it to tell me how much of the medicine is still in my body, it's just not for me. I think Julio does great with it. I love that he uses it. I love seeing his stuff, but I just can't get into it. So since I have the Nourish app for free, I'm just going to use that one. So I log my food, I log my water, I log my exercise. I am trying to go to the gym every day and do the swimming. I do take days off when I'm a little sore. Like today I was sore and I wanted to record this video, so I did skip the gym today. But I went every other day this week, and I'm gonna go tomorrow, which tomorrow is Sunday. So, that's gonna pick it up. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's me in a nutshell. It's not a nutshell. That was a huge shell because I run off at the mouth. I like to talk. Nobody likes to listen to me, but I like to talk. So that's another reason why I decided to go ahead and start making videos, because I can just talk. And if nobody sees it, nobody listens, that's fine. You don't have to get to know me, but if you want to, please do. My email address is gettingzeppy@gmail.com. You can send me emails, you can leave comments, you can leave suggestions, you can follow me on Instagram, you can find me on Facebook. It's Nicole Deneen on Facebook. Getting Zeppy on everything else, TikTok, Instagram, everything's Getting Zeppy. But yeah, you can find me on all the socials. I'm no professional at posting or recording videos or editing videos. I am certainly not a content creator in any way, shape, or form. Like, one of my favorite content creators is Jordan Bouth. She is a really great content creator, and Nikki Delventhal, I love her too. If you like travel, like Nikki Delventhal lives in her van and she travels with her 2 dogs and her boyfriend, and he lives in a separate truck, and they are amazing. So if you like traveling, follow them. Jordan is an excellent content creator. She lives a very healthy lifestyle. She's a figure skater. She's worked on cruise ships. I love cruises. That's how I found her. I watch a lot of cruise videos. So I follow a lot of cruise people. Ben and David, excellent. I am nothing like them. I am nothing like those content creators. This is going to be a very roughly spliced together video. And I hope you guys have enjoyed watching. If you have any questions, please send them to me. If you have questions you want to ask that you don't want me to answer on here, or that you don't want to put in the comments, you can email me, or you can send me a message on Instagram or TikTok. Just let me know, that you found me on YouTube, so that I know who you are, because TikTok, I get a lot of spam. So but yeah, shoot me a message. I really enjoy being a part of the GLP-1 community. I appreciate anybody who does watch this and wants to learn about me or wants to see what I do in the future. I want to see what you guys do in the future too. So if you have your own channel, I'm working on following everybody in Julio's list. So if you're not on Julio's list, send me your deets so that I can follow you. But yeah, that's it. So I will let you guys go now and end this video because it is pretty long. But yeah, that's me. Getting Zeppy is because trizepatide, that's where I got the name from. I wanted something catchy. I was inspired by Julio because I like his Riding the Tide and how he incorporates that and everything. So I was like, let me try to come up with something snazzy. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and a great week ahead. And let's just keep getting healthy, all right?